Number 1. Ancient Egypt, circa 1550 BCE. The dung prescription. The Ebers Papyrus is one of the oldest surviving medical documents on Earth. 110 pages of remedies, observations, and treatments that ancient Egyptian physicians swore by. It is also a catalog of horrors written in very confident handwriting. Egyptian physicians were the most credentialed healers of the ancient world. Pharaohs trusted them, priests revered them. Their anatomical knowledge, gleaned from centuries of ritual mummification, was genuinely impressive by ancient standards. They understood the heart as a pump. They documented surgical procedures. They were, by every available metric, the best medicine had to offer in 1550 BCE. And their recommended cure for infected wounds? Crocodile dung, applied directly. Not symbolically, not spiritually, physically, packed into the wound. The logic, if you can call it that, was that excrement from such a powerful creature must carry divine protective energy. What it actually carried, of course, was a catastrophic bacterial payload delivered straight into an open laceration. Donkey dung, fly droppings mixed with fat, human urine as an eye rinse. The Ebers Papyrus prescribed them all with the calm authority of a man who had never questioned himself once. The irony is almost poetic. The civilization that invented surgery also invented infection. Number 2. Ancient Greece, circa 400 BCE. Humoral theory, the philosophy that cut you open. Hippocrates is called the father of medicine. His face adorns medical schools. Physicians swear an oath in his name. What they do not advertise is that his foundational theory of human health held that your body was controlled by 4 fluids: blood, phlegm, yellow bile, black bile, and that virtually every illness was the result of these fluids falling out of balance. This was not a fringe belief. This was the consensus. This was the science. The cure for nearly any imbalance was straightforward. Remove the excess fluid. Which fluid? Whichever one your physician believed was dominant. How? With a lancet, a cup, a very sharp instrument, and a very confident hand. Bloodletting became the cornerstone of Western medicine for the next 2,000 years. 2,000. The staggering reach of this single miscalculation should stop you cold. Patients came in feverish. They were drained. Patients came in fatigued. They were drained. Patients came in with headaches, with chest pain, with grief. Drained. 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 The lancet descended. Blood pooled in ceramic cups. Physicians nodded. Patients grew pale, called it improvement, sent them home lighter, in every sense of the word. Hippocrates did not invent suffering. He simply gave it a very persuasive philosophical framework. Number 3. Medieval Europe, circa 1300 CE. The plague doctor and his beak of poisons. When the Black Death arrived in Europe in 1347, it did not come alone. It brought with it an entire ecosystem of catastrophic medical responses, each one escalating the body count with clinical efficiency. Plague doctors were the specialists dispatched into infected cities. Recognizable by their long, wax-coated robes and iconic bird-beaked masks, the beaks stuffed with herbs and aromatic compounds to filter the miasma, the poisonous air they believed caused the plague, they were figures of genuine authority. Governments paid them. Citizens trusted them. The herbs in the beak did nothing. The robes helped slightly. The treatments they administered were something else entirely. Buboes, the swollen, blackened lymph nodes that gave the Black Death its name, needed to be lanced. Fine, necessary even. But the standard follow-up involved pressing a live hen directly against the opened wound. The logic? The chicken would absorb the poison. The reality? The chicken died. Then they used a different chicken. That one died too. Then, presumably, a third. Bloodletting, naturally, was also prescribed to a patient already hemorrhaging internally. Vinegar baths, consuming arsenic, burning herbs in the room of a dying man, as though the smell of rosemary could renegotiate with bacterium. The beak-masked figure became the symbol of the plague era, a doctor-shaped silhouette surrounded by the dead. He was not saving anyone. He was simply the last face they saw. Number 4. The Renaissance, circa 1500s CE. Mercury, the cure that ate through you. Syphilis arrived in Europe with devastating punctuality at the end of the 15th century. Some historians link its emergence to sailors returning from the New World, though the origin remains debated. What is not debated is what European physicians decided to do about it. Mercury, rubbed into the skin, vaporized in sealed rooms where patients sat for hours inhaling it, administered orally, injected. In every conceivable delivery method, physicians of the Renaissance era prescribed a substance that is now classified as a neurological poison. Mercury does, in fact, suppress certain syphilitic sores, temporarily. It does this by being so profoundly toxic that the bacteria causing the disease momentarily lose ground to the poison coursing through the patient's body. The side effects were modest: complete tooth loss as the gums rotted and blackened, violent tremors, neurological deterioration, kidney failure, excessive salivation, up to 4 liters per day in severe cases, as the body desperately attempted to purge the metal. The treatment lasted for weeks. Patients emerged from mercury vapor rooms shaking, toothless, barely able to walk. Physicians documented their improved complexion and called it a cure. The phrase coined at the time has survived into modernity: a night with Venus, a lifetime with Mercury. They weren't wrong. They just didn't realize they were describing the treatment, not the disease. Number 5. The Victorian Era, circa 1850s to 1890s, CE. Laudanum, lobotomy, and the medicalization of womanhood. The Victorian era presented itself as the pinnacle of rational civilization. Gas lamps, steam engines, the British Empire stretching its fingers across every continent. And in the parlors and physicians' offices of this gleaming modern world, doctors were prescribing liquid opium to teething infants. Laudanum, a tincture of opium dissolved in alcohol, was sold over the counter. Mrs. Winslow's soothing syrup, marketed directly to mothers for fussy children, contained morphine. Cocaine was prescribed for toothaches, hay fever, and general fatigue. Heroin, synthesized by Bayer, the aspirin company, was introduced in 1898 as a non-addictive alternative to morphine. The advertising copy described it as heroic. The name stuck. But the era's most intimate atrocity was reserved specifically for women. Hysteria, derived from the Greek word for uterus, was a catch-all diagnosis applied to any woman exhibiting inconvenient emotion, anxiety, sadness, anger, independent thought, in sufficiently alarming quantities. The prescribed treatment was pelvic massage, administered by a physician, a procedure so routinely in demand that doctors reportedly complained of wrist fatigue. Later iterations brought the vibrator into clinical use. Then, as the century closed, surgical removal of the uterus entirely. The uterus, they reasoned, was the source of irrationality. Remove it, and the woman would be rational again, calm, manageable. Victorian medicine looked at half the human population and diagnosed them with existing. Number 6. Early 20th century, circa 1900s to 1940s, CE. Radium water and the glow of progress. At the turn of the century, radioactivity was new. Radioactivity was exciting. Marie Curie's discoveries had the scientific world vibrating with possibility. And that vibration, almost immediately, was metabolized by the wellness industry into something for sale. Radithor was a commercial health tonic sold throughout the 1920s. It contained dissolved radium, actual radium, a radioactive element with a half-life of 1,600 years. The marketing positioned it as a vitality supplement. Energy, virility, the glow of modern health. Eben Byers, an American socialite and amateur golf champion, consumed approximately 1,400 bottles over 3 years on the advice of his physician. He became a devoted evangelist. He gave it to friends. He mailed it to acquaintances. Then his jaw fell off. The radium had eaten through his bones. His skull was deteriorating. His body had become, in the words of a Wall Street Journal headline from 1931, a living mass of cancer. He did not survive the year. Radium face cream, radioactive chocolate bars, uranium-glazed crockery that leached isotopes into every meal served upon it. Humanity stood at the threshold of the atomic age, squinting into the glow, and decided it looked healthy. Eben Byers had the most luminous skeleton in any cemetery in New Jersey. Number 7. Mid-20th century, circa 1940s to 1960s, CE. The ice pick and the quiet rooms. Walter Freeman did not invent the lobotomy. He simply perfected its efficiency to an industrial scale. The transorbital lobotomy, as Freeman developed and promoted it, required no operating theater, no anesthesia sometimes, no surgical team, just an ice pick, a literal household ice pick, inserted above the eyeball, through the orbital socket, tapped gently through the bone with a small mallet, and swept back and forth through the prefrontal lobe. Freeman could perform one in 10 minutes. He took his procedure on the road in a vehicle he called the lobotomobile. He performed them in auditoriums for medical students. He performed them in state hospitals, working through wards. Patients who were violent became docile. Patients who were suicidal became quiet. Patients who were anxious became still. They also frequently lost the capacity to speak in complete sentences, to plan, to feel, to be, in any meaningful sense, themselves. Freeman lobotomized approximately 3,500 people. Among them, Rosemary Kennedy, sister of John F. Kennedy, at age 23, rendered permanently incapacitated after a procedure her father authorized without her mother's knowledge. The ice pick descended. The mallet tapped. She stopped speaking properly and never recovered. The procedure won its inventor, Yges Moniz, the Nobel Prize in Medicine in 1949. Not for saving lives, for making difficult people easier to manage. Medicine has always been most dangerous when it is most certain of itself.